right, welcome back to FAWKES News. Fox as in Guy Fawkes News. News without so much emotion, news with actual receipts, and news that actually gets to the bottom of the story and not just tries to fit a particular narrative. And today we got to mention this. Has FEMA been politically weaponized, and what's going on with FEMA? Listen, it's really hard to be objective on this because I've been in Western North Carolina for so many weeks working out in the disaster relief, and I have seen firsthand the government's manipulation and lie of what's going on. I was there when Roy Cooper said, "We don't want you coming to Western North Carolina. We don't need your help in Western North Carolina." I saw this and heard this with my own ears. Well, let me take that back. I saw his post about it in his news. I wasn't there in the room with him. I don't want to mix facts here. But my point is that I was like, what do you mean don't come to Western North Carolina? We need you. This is bizarre. This is crazy. And now I'm filming this Helene doc. Go to Instagram and follow Helene doc, if you would. It's a real shot, my first big shot at journalism. And we've been out there interviewing people. And so all of this, every single interview, I have not brought up FEMA for one second. None of my questions say, like, how has FEMA been? Everybody there on the left or on the right. By the way, there wasn't a lot of voting going on in Western North Carolina. People aren't very politically charged right now in Western North Carolina. There was no polls to even get to. So I was there on election day and I forgot that it was election day. It's the biggest election of the year. It's been on everybody's brains. I didn't find out till the afternoon after who got elected. Because once you're there, once you're in Western North Carolina, once you're in ground zeros, because there's so many, you just stop caring about the politics for a minute. And it's all about, who can I help next and what can I do to be an asset here? But without fail, it doesn't matter who we interviewed, they all wanted to talk about the lack of response. Why has America forgotten us? Where's all our help? We heard that Asheville's getting a lot of help, but why aren't we getting any help? And then on the documentary, I have a beautiful interview from a woman who talks about how FEMA was actually hiding in the community. And I can't wait to drop that on Helene doc and drop that whole documentary, which will probably drop on a couple of different streaming services when it comes out. So just follow it on Instagram and I'll give you all the bonus, or follow me right here on Fox News and you guys will get first run at this. But now I come out of the woods, out of the Western North Carolina, and I see this article. Josh, bring this article up real fast.
Which one do you want? Do you want the FEMA for the fire?
No, I want the FEMA for I want the woman who is skipping out on Trump voters.
Oh, where FEMA employee was fired after telling relief team to skip houses with Trump signs following the hurricane relief.
Surely, Josh, this has to be some kind of hyperbolic media spin because Trump won the presidency and there's some kind of big right-wing narrative. Surely she didn't say that. What did she say in her totality? Do we have that? Do we have the text of the text message?
Yeah. So this is a bullet point thing that went out. So we would do these before back then we didn't have text message and do that when we were on combat tours, but we would do these every morning before you go out on your combat mission. Before you go out to start your day, we do these a morning brief before you go out on your patrol as police officers. This is a pretty standard thing. However, I'm going to read the bullet points here. This is implement best practices. Bullet point 1 is no one goes anywhere alone. Bullet point 2, avoid homes advertising Trump. 3, practice de-escalation and preventative measures. 4, communicate, follow the rules. 5, bring a towel with you tomorrow to the field. Take frequent breaks and drink water. Avoid high salt diets and coffee. Coconut water is a fast way to replenish the electrolyte. Everything in there seems very like, hey, this is what we want to do for helping people, except don't help people that have Trump advertising in their front yard.
Now, I have seen this firsthand in Western North Carolina, right? It's my first 2 or 3 weeks there was, how are y'all doing? How y'all doing? How can we help you? And I would respond with, no, how can I help you? I'm here to help you. Oh, well, we're good. We're fine here. But everybody started out the conversation with, how are you doing? What can I do for you? Even though they're the ones that needed help. About week 3, it started to, who y'all's with? Oh, hey man, we're with a non-government organization. Well, come on up. Because one, they were catching attitude from the National Guard guys and from FEMA I caught attitude from National Guard, and I'm their biggest fan because I was in the National Guard. And I caught a little bit of attitude from a couple different National Guardsmen, one of which we missed our landing area in our rescue raft. We drifted down about 800 meters, had to climb up a hill, and it was an uphill, sandy battle to get all of our gear, chainsaws, dog equipment, cadaver dog, leashes and harnesses and helmets and all the stuff that we had to drag all the way uphill after being out all day. And the National Guard guy was standing there, and I go, hey, man, can we throw some of this on your truck and you give us a ride up the hill? And he goes, no, absolutely not. What for? Why? What do you mean absolutely not? Like, did I shit in your cereal? He says, no, we're just not authorized to do that. So these people, that aggravates anybody. That aggravates me, and especially, and I'm not the one that has my whole house, destroyed. So this is bizarre. And now there's a question here. Has FEMA been politically weaponized? Is the culture of FEMA been weaponized to the point where it's politically divided? Because one of the things that comes up in this documentary that I'm shooting is, why isn't the government support going to Western North Carolina? Why did Roy Cooper say things like this? Let me play this for you.
With them, we have plans for local governments. In some areas, you just shouldn't build back. Mm-hmm. And we've been able to convince certain communities and people that buyouts are better, and you create groups.
So this was all, and I could play it a little bit further in context. I have another one here.
A lot of time being smart about the way we approach rebuilding. We go into communities, we work with them, we have plans for local governments. In some areas, you just shouldn't build back. Mm-hmm. And we've been able to convince certain communities and people that buyouts are better, and you create green space that soaks up flood water that comes and protects surrounding areas. When you do build back, you have to invest more in order for property.
And what he's talking about here are government buyouts. And this is something we've already seen in Lahaina. Bring up that Lahaina buyouts video or article. Now, who is this coming from here?
This is coming from The Guardian. This was a thing about the Maui fires that everyone said right from the get-go. We're going to have a problem with people coming in after the fact and trying to buy up this land. We're going to buy up this expensive land that you can get for really cheap right now, because the people that are living there, they're not able to keep paying for it, because the job that they had, it burnt to the ground as well. So the house that they have burnt to the ground, the job that they had that would pay for them to be able to rebuild the house, it also burnt to the ground. So they're in a really tough space. And instead of saying, hey, we're going to get you relief, the Red Cross and FEMA asked survivors if they consider moving off island. This is where they live, and hey, would you just not want to live here so we can? It's not a conspiracy theory to think that the government and all these outside entities want to come in and reinvest in it, because if we'll scroll down here a little bit further, there's the 30% of the Paradise properties sold in Paradise, California after the fire there went to vacation rentals. And why does that sound familiar? Because Paradise, California also had a natural disaster that came through there and just absolutely wiped it off the face of the earth. And they had a problem getting relief up there. They had a problem getting relief. Maui has a problem getting relief. Western North Carolina has a problem getting relief. You know who didn't have a problem with relief? Ukraine. They've got billions of dollars. I don't know how many billions of dollars we sent over there to Israel. We're sending all this money to house illegals.
Well, it's not even just Lahaina, Maui, Western North Carolina. Remember Eastern Palestine. Watch this.
It's about FEMA and calling in FEMA for aid. At this point, based on what FEMA has told us and continues to tell us, my chief of staff talked to them again this morning, we do not qualify for assistance. Although FEMA is synonymous with disaster support, they're most typically involved with disasters where there's tremendous home or property damage, tornadoes, flooding, hurricanes. That's why we do not expect that FEMA will come to East Palestine. However,
right, so
FEMA.
I'm sorry, but Eastern Palestine with this train derailment, a lot of things were contaminated. People were displaced. These are times that FEMA should be stepping in. And where's this money going to? And then we remember J.D. Vance. If you remember in J.D. Vance's, which has been fact checked all over the place, and I had to dig very far down. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of today's show, and I'll play this and we'll get it out of here, get out of your way. But this is the meat and potatoes of today's show. I shouldn't have to look for these facts this hard. Let me play this video.
Thank you for doing this, Senator. My question for you is, what do you have to say about President Trump pushing and claim that FEMA is running out of money for her hurricane relief because of funding for programs that support migrants?
Well, let me say a couple things about this. First of all, the idea that FEMA is running out of money is something that the leadership of the Harris administration has said. That especially if there's another disaster, they've said that they might have to go back to the well. And I think a lot of Americans are saying, well, how can we afford to give billions of dollars to illegal immigrants in this country, but we've got to go back to the well to provide disaster relief for our own citizens? That's a disgrace. Now, the media's obsessed with, well, there's one bucket of money over here and there's another bucket of money over here. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that our own government is sending billions of dollars to illegal aliens when there are hardworking Americans. We got to focus on them. Focus on our American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by these terrible storms. That's what Kamala Harris ought to be doing, and it's a damn shame that she's not doing her job.
By the way, all the fact checkers, have gone haywire. So if you try to Google it, you're going to have to go to DuckDuckGo. But if you try to Google what I'm about to show you, it's not going to come up. Not for the first 20 pages. But if you go to DuckDuckGo, it is on the first page. And this is coming from Fox News. This was published on October 3rd, 2024. Feds say there's no money left to respond to hurricanes after FEMA spent $1.4 billion on migrants. Fiscal year of 2024, they spent $650 million. Fiscal year of 2023, they spent $363 million. Now, this is coming from Newsweek. Actually, hold on one second. This is coming from Newsweek here. Washington Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas set off outrage Wednesday when he told reporters that Federal Emergency Management, FEMA, does not have the funds to see Americans through the rest of this Atlantic hurricane season, after the agency spent more than $1.4 billion since the fall of 2022 addressing the migrant crisis. We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have, Mayorkas said during a press gaggle on Air Force One en route to tour damage on hurricane relief in South and North Carolina. We are expecting another hurricane hitting, he added. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season. And what is imminent, I apologize here, got a little. What is imminent, critics pointed out that the Department of Homeland Security allocated $640.9 million this year in FEMA administrative funds to aid state and local governments coping with the influx of asylum seekers, though through Mayorkas' office fired back late Thursday, insisting that those funds couldn't be used for hurricane relief because Congress authorized them specifically for the migrant crisis. This is easy. Mayorkas and FEMA immediately stopped spending money on illegal immigration, resettling and redirecting those funds to areas hit by the hurricane. Put Americans first. That's what Greg Abbott tweeted. And so here's my question, and we'll wrap this up, Josh. Is this all for political purpose? Has FEMA been politically weaponized? Obviously, the culture of FEMA is okay with sending text messages. You've got to be pretty comfortable. I got a brother who's a school teacher that won't talk to me on the phone about politics or anything because he's afraid that I'll repeat what he says and what he believes, and then he'll get fired from his school job, even though nothing that he says is wrong. What he says is the truth. He's telling me what is going on in the schoolrooms. He's like, yeah, I just don't want you to talk about that on your show because if that gets out, I don't, is there repercussions for me? So, obviously, so now you can't use your First Amendment right for freedom of speech because it doesn't go against your employer's narrative of what the truth should be in regards to politics. So what I'm saying here is that's where he has to tiptoe because the culture of his school is very liberal, very left leaning. And so he has to toe that line. Obviously, FEMA doesn't feel that they need to toe a line when addressing left wing agendas.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We have for the last 4 years, we have the entire border has been wide open. We're causing a problem here. The government and their policies are causing an influx of all of these illegals into your communities. So we're causing the problem. Then we're going to take your tax dollars and give it to them. And then we're going to create the solution for this problem is we need to give them housing, and we need to do this, and we need to do that for them, and we need to do this, and we need. So you've now taken your American dollars and give them away. So with this election and everybody wondering, like, what was the problem with Donald Trump? Donald Trump is cutting off this. I wonder, I would go back and I offer anybody else in their free time, go through these NGOs, see who has stock in these NGOs. See how much Nancy Pelosi has in this. See how much any of these other Democratic politicians, they're going to push to keep this stuff there, because you know what's happening? That funding from FEMA is a guaranteed check. It clears the bank and it's going into somebody's pocket because somebody's making money off of this. There are illegals that are paid up. They're getting put in a hotel. Guess who makes the money off that? The person that owns the hotel. So who owns the hotel? These governments. So you have the government come in to these communities after these natural disasters, buy up the land for cheap, put your own government subsidized housing on it, and then put illegals in it, and then take your money, pay for the entire thing, and then have your money pay for the people that are managing it after the fact, which are then the Democrats that have their money into the back end of these companies with the investments. They cause the problem, cause the solution, and every bit of it is paid with your money. What does an American citizen on American soil paying taxes as an American have to do to get help from the American government?
Well, I love this article here. This is from Newsweek magazine. 2/3 of Americans think the Federal Emergency Management Agency should not provide housing to undocumented migrants, according to a new poll by Harvard. The Biden-Harris administration has received criticism after concerns aroused about FEMA's cash flow following Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' remarks on the agency's financial difficulties during hurricane season. And I love how they put this out there. It's all over the place. But then when you try to Google FEMA out of money, all you see is fact check. FEMA is not out of money. Fact check. FEMA's not. Trump lies again. Biden says, I don't know why Trump says these things. It's just not true. But here we go. Time and time again, we have Alejandro Mayorkas telling you the truth about what's going on. Here we go. Well, go ahead. Tell me what you got here.
I just typed in FEMA out of money into Google. The first thing that comes up, myth or fact. The next thing that comes up, rumor. FEMA does not have enough money. Next thing comes up, rumor. Funding for FEMA.
And if you click
FEMA
on any
isn't
one of
running
those,
out of
it'll
money.
tell you that they're not out of money and that it's out of context. And it's not out of context. It's the point is that you're taking money. You're taking grants. So you're telling me you got a $6.6 million grant sent to Columbus, Ohio to support undocumented immigrants, but we can't get a $600 million grant to North Carolina to help out with Western North Carolina. That money should not be going to illegal immigrants. It should be going to the people first of this nation. It shouldn't be going to Ukraine. It should be going here to Americans first. I'm tired of it. Listen, I get to go on One American News Network and do this rant all over again in 40 minutes. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. Share this with a friend. If you want to see real news with real receipts, real fact checks, and our shot at real journalism, please go to iTunes or Spotify, look up our podcast here, which is called Fox News, give a 5-star rating and review. And again, just share this with a friend. Mainstream media is dead. Listen, G.I. Joe says it the best. Maybe you didn't know if the FEMA had been politically weaponized yet or not, but now you do know. And knowing is what? It's half the battle. Josh, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys.
See you.